Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the ACHA Power Play. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, you can catch us on our YouTube channel, which I'm sure a lot of you are watching right now. And we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our programming, all of the ACHA Power Plays. You can archive those, some of the interviews that we've had. We've had some really good ones here this year in our 9th season here on the ACHA Power Play. And you can catch us with all of our shows on the 12 Ounce Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. And all of our other programming. We have the Extravaganza with Captain Lou and Mitch on Wednesdays, the Daily Dive. This just happened. All of our shows on 12 Ounce Sports on YouTube. And we welcome those of you watching on Roku TV, on your smart TVs as well. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, you name it, X, Instagram. We're everywhere. That's 12 Ounce Sports. Got a great show planned for you here tonight. We are going to be talking with our special guest, Jonathan Cosman of Weber State. He's an assistant coach with them. We had a chance to speak with him last night, and we're going to play that for you. In about 14 minutes here. As they've got a couple of things going on. They had a good weekend this past weekend, winning the Wasatch Cup, and we're going to talk about that and their upcoming big conference tournament. Weber State, of course, last year made it to nationals, had a decent run. They had a couple of tough games, but finished out strong. We're going to talk all about that as they played a part in Indiana getting the national championship. I can't wait for Jonathan to talk about that as well. We'll talk about that. We're going to go over all the rankings in all 5 divisions as we do every week here on the program. Some big games coming up this weekend in all of the divisions. This is where it gets fun. We talk about it all year. The marathon of the schedule, it goes through to about Christmas. And then now with January behind us, February here, that means we are only 5 weeks away in a couple of days, 37 days to be exact, from puck drop down at St. Louis at the Centene Center, March 12th through the 25th or 13th. Through the 25th, I beg your pardon. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can't. We'll get you these dates right now. If I can bring this up, my technology here. Right, let's see if I can bring this up. Yeah, let's show you right here. You can see it. The men's division starts on the 13th. Then the D2 squad, which Weber State hopes to be a participant in that. Their national tournament starts on the 14th. Then the men's D3 on the 18th. Then the women take over on the 17th and the 21st, as all of the divisions except Division I, they're going to have 3 days of pool play. So if you're going to win the national championship in D2, D3, or the women's 1 and 2, you're going to play 5 days. You're going to play 5 straight days, 5 games in 5 days. And I know none of the teams will be upset if they have to play those 5 games in 5 days, because they'll be more than happy to do that, to win the crown, if you will, as we get set here for the national tournament. So again, 5 games in 5 days. That's the D2 national tournament. So we're going to talk about that. But before that, at the Division II level, we've got the regional tournament. Now, we've talked about it before, where it used to be D2 and D3, they had to go through that gauntlet to get to the national tournament. Whereas you get the top 2 teams in each region getting the automatic bye. And then, of course, you've got the 3 through 14 teams. They're going to play in a 3-day tournament. Well, D3 doesn't do that anymore. They've got the 16-team bracket, or ranking, I should say. They get bracketed into their 4 pools based on their rankings. But the D2 side, they still have those regional tournaments, and it's awful big, especially for a team like Weber State. Right now in the West, they are ranked 3rd. But this past weekend with the Wasatch Cup victory, they played Utah. And with the last ranking, Utah was ranked 2nd. So there's a possibility they may flip-flop. But still, with that conference tournament coming up for Weber State this weekend, starting Thursday, as they're going to get that underway, those are big games, because they got to keep the ranking. They got to keep up with that if they want to get that 2nd spot and avoid the 3-day tournament, which will be on February 23rd through the 25th. let's, as a matter of fact, I want to bring up the rankings right now just to let you know what we're talking about. In the West, you've got Montana State. They're pretty well entrenched in that number one spot. I think they're like 33-2 right now. So they're ranked number one in the West. Then you've got Utah and Weber State at 2 and 3. They've been so close every year. And then the fourth team is MSU, Montana State, Denver. Then at 5 is Providence. They made it to the national tournament last year. Colorado is up to 6. Texas at 7. Utah State at 8. Arizona State, big jump up to number 9. Montana is at 10. Cal Berkeley is at 11. Grand Canyon 12. Boise at 13. And Loyola Marymount at 14. And I believe Boise is the opponent of Weber State in the opening round of that conference tournament. So that's a big game for Boise State too, because they're close to the edge with Denver right now at 15. So, I mean, anything could happen with those conference tournaments. They mean a lot for these rankings. And so there are some automatic berths involved. It's just to be safe. You want to be in the top 12 to get into the regional tournament. And then who knows after that. 3 through 6, they get an automatic berth in the opening round of the regional tournament. And then it's single elimination. And we've talked ad nauseum about a couple of years ago with Iowa. I think they were ranked 10th in their region. They won 3 games in 3 days. Then they went on to the national tournament as a 4 seed and won 3 straight games. And then that epic double elimination game against Indiana to get to the championship game. So just kind of an idea there. So let's look at real quick at the other rankings. Let's go over to the Southeast region, and the number one team, a team that's always in the national tournament, a powerhouse in D2. They've been to the top of the mountain. I know they would love to get back to that's Florida Gulf Coast. Liberty's at number 2. They'll, another mainstay in a lot of divisions, that being the Flames of Liberty. And then at number 3, you've got Kentucky with Penn State at 4, and then Virginia Tech at 5, Miami at 6, North Carolina State at 7, Ohio at 8, Indiana, the defending national champions. They clinched their regular season conference championship, by the way. They're at 9. And then you've got Louisville at 10, Cincinnati at 11. There's another team that gets to the national tournament, makes a lot of noise. They're at 11 right now. Then you've got NC Chapel Hill at 12, Wilmington at 13, and then the University of Michigan right now at 14 with Rider right on their heels. And quickly over at in the Northeast, Connecticut College, we're going to have their head coach on next week. Andy's going to join us. They're ranked number 1 in the region. West Point is at number 2. That's Army. Then you've got RPI at 3. Northeastern knocked down to 4. A little bit unusual to see them out of the top 2. It seems like Northeastern and Keene State, they're regular visitors to the national tournament. Bentley at 5, Holy Cross at 6, New Hampshire at 7, Sacred Heart at 8, Boston at 9, Providence College at 10, and then UMass Amherst. They're champions 2 years ago. They're right now at 11. Roger Williams at 12, UConn at 13, and Vermont at 14 right now. So some heavyweights not in the top 2. We've got some new teams out east or in the Northeast Northeast region with West Point and Connecticut College in the top 2. In the Central, again, Lindenwood, a familiar spot for them, ranked number 1 in the Central. Wisconsin at 2, St. Thomas at 3. They've been flip-flopping earlier in the year, but right now they're staying stationary at 2 and 3. Marion at 4, Minnesota at 5, Concordia of Wisconsin at 6, Sioux College at 7. Then you've got Maryville at 8, Michigan State at 9, Iowa at 10. Adrian is down to 11, trying to hang on to get bid into the regional tournament. Minnesota Crookston at 12. Then you've got Trine at 13 and Purdue Northwest at 14 with Marquette right there at 15. So there you go. Kind of a look at the regional brackets or the regional rankings in Division II. Again, so important to get in that top 2. I don't know any coach that would want to go through that gauntlet 3 through 14. I know it's good maybe during the regular season to get yourself tested, but now a winner go home scenario where you maybe can rest the guys for an extra week. You don't have to worry about that. And again, away from the ice too. we talk about to a lot of coaches and players for that matter. You win your regional, you get one of those two berths, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, the euphoria wears off. Then you got to come up with the cheese to get there, the money, the plane tickets for some of the teams, the transportation, the studies, everything. And I'm telling you, it is like it flies. And it is amazing what these teams can do, in a short amount of time to get ready for the national tournament. And I know that's one thing the Division III teams don't miss either. But even though with the final rankings, you still have 2 to 3 weeks to get everything ready at all 5 divisions. Some of the teams that are ranked high enough, they know going in they're going to make it, so they get a little more breathing room. But you get some of these teams at 13 through 16 in D3, or like 19 through 24 in D1. They don't know. Then they find out. Then boom, they got to get going. Same with the women in the top 12 this year. And of course at D2 as well, with their regional rankings. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So speaking of the regional sites, let's take a look at, we can show you right now where the regional sites are going to be for the national tournament, or for the D2. As you can see in the Central Regional, they're going to be in La Crosse, Wisconsin this year at the Alaska Omni Center. Then the Northeast Regional is going to be in Connecticut at the International Skating Center of Connecticut. The Southeast Regional is going to be in Evansville, Indiana, hosted by the Swander Ice Arena. Then the Promenade Center, the Ice Center at the Promenade in Westminster, Colorado, hosted by the Big Mountain Hockey Conference. That's where the West Regionals are going to be. 21st to the 23rd for the Central Region, the Northeast, and the Southeast. The West Region, they go from February 20th through the 22nd. So that gives you an idea, kind of an overview of Division II as we are getting set here for the national tournament. They get the regionals. They get the first winner go home scenario of everybody as we get you set for the road to St. Louis. It's coming around the bend, everybody. We're getting to that final quarter, the quarter pole, third quarter pole, if you will. Can see Centene in the distance. 37 days of puck drop right now. And before we get to St. Louis, and I got to tell you, I'm getting more and more excited. I'm going to be there for the duration of the tournament. Please stop by and say hi when you see this bald-headed dude walking around in Centene, having a ball. So much fun talking to the coaches, the players, all the parents, the fans, you name it. Can't wait to get it going. Coming up here shortly. It's going to be here before you know it. 37 days to puck drop. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to bring you that interview we had with Jonathan Cosman of Weber State University. A lot going on there, as he'll tell about their season so far and their push as they look to get back to the national tournament. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them. Yeah. Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
This is Mitch Bernstein with The Berm with Mitch, and most recently, the Captain Lou Extravaganza with Mitch on 12 Ounce Sports. Our podcast are Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm giving you some information about a contest you can enter during the show. Here it is. Can you guess the project that I'm working on that involves all 30 Major League Baseball teams? If you can guess that project, you will win a prize that you tell me you want of your favorite team. Could be most likely going to be a card. Tell me the right team that if I have it, I'll get you an autograph card. But you have to enter during the show in the chat. What project am I working on that involves all 30 Major League Baseball teams? Tell us in the chat tomorrow. The Captain Lou Extravaganza with Mitch on 12-Ounce Sports. You could win a nice memorabilia prize. See you.
Pleased to be joined by one of the assistant coaches of Weber State University, Jonathan Cosman. Jonathan, thanks for taking time out tonight to be with us. How are you?
I'm good, Lou. Appreciate you reaching out and giving me an opportunity to speak about Weber State and our hockey program. So I'm excited.
So before we get into, like last year and whatnot, you guys had a fun weekend with the Wasatch Cup. Tell us a little bit about the history of that and your weekend. A couple of real close games this weekend, but you guys came out victorious.
Yeah. So Wasatch Cup, I try to describe it to people as Utah's ACHA version of the Bean Pot.
Okay.
And so, obviously with the Bean Pot, it's the 4 Boston teams. They play essentially their regular season games as far as the NCAA is concerned. And we do the exact same thing within Utah. They're regular season games, but definitely a playoff feel to them because we're playing for, the Wasatch Cup. And we take a lot of pride in being and wanting to be considered the top team in Utah. And so they're big games, and the fun part about them is they give our players an opportunity to play for a trophy in what are still considered regular season games. And it gives our players the experience needed to move into, whether it be regionals or nationals with the ACHA. It gives them that experience moving into that.
Well, on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, you guys won that. You played Utah, correct?
Yeah. Yep. So this was actually
game.
our second year in a row playing Utah in the finals. Last year we were the host team, and so we were able to win it on home ice. And there was a bit of a rankings gap between us and Utah last year going into that game, where this year we're neck and neck for the second seed. We had been in the second seed all year. They just hopped us in this last ranking. And so we're very thin margin between us and them for who might get that auto bid to nationals. And so it was an awesome game. Our guys played exactly how we wanted them to play. We're an older team than them. We're a more experienced team than them, but they have a lot of kids that can play. They're young. Most of them are right out of high school or AAA hockey. Most of our guys have played out their junior years and then come to us. So we felt like we're a bigger, stronger, faster team than them. And we felt like if we play that game, it'll wear them down and give us the best chance to win. And, ultimately it did play out in that way, but very, very close game, and certainly a lot of nerves for the coaches.
How do you think the season's gone so far as an overview?
A lot of ups and downs in our season. So as you're well aware with the ACHA and any college hockey, it's a transition for a lot of players to have to maintain grades and to be eligible. And so we, and I guess at the same time too, with it being club hockey, it also presents itself that life happens to some players, and things happen where players may not return partway through the season. And so unfortunately for us, our captain and our top pairing defenseman for us was not able to come back at the second half. Trey Hirschfield, who's been I would say our 1A goalie over the last year and a half. We have a lot of goalies that we trust. We feel like that's a position that we're very deep in. But he was a second team all tournament at the Nationals last year, and he was unable to be with us for the second half of the year. And so those two in particular were really big losses for us. And the second half of the year, as you know, is short, right?
Boy.
The end of the season comes on you pretty quick. And so our group had to kind of rediscover our identity in the second half. You lose a captain, you lose, your starting goalie. It mixes things up a little bit. And, us as a coaching staff, we had to try and regroup really quick. Our players had to figure out, a lot of things really quick. And I wouldn't say we had the start to the second half that we would have hoped. And so this weekend, being able to win those two games as close as they were, I think really helped us figure out our identity again.
Well, one of the things I've noticed with just looking at your team, their performance throughout the year, Jonathan, is you guys can put the puck in the net. And one of the things with Caden Hunter that stood out to me, he's got 4 shorthanded goals. Talk a little bit about that. He seems to have a nose for the puck around the net.
Yeah. So the story with Caden's actually really neat. So my full-time job, I run a hockey training company.
Okay.
And we work with players. We started about 5-6 years ago. And we've worked with kids. We do spring and summer teams. We put clinics together. And Caden and one other player on the team, Dylan Vallejo, and then Colin Morrill, who joined halfway through the season, were the first players that had ever gone through my program that I ended up coaching at Weber State. And so Caden in particular was a neat story. He had every expectation that he was going to be back with New Hampshire in the North American League this year. Uh-huh. He's a 2005 birth year. He had 2 more years of junior eligibility. He's a local Utah kid, which most of our roster is not. Yeah. And halfway through the first year of school, I woke up in the morning to a text from Caden Hunter, and with a message that read, "Would Weber State have any interest in me?" And I almost fell off the bed because it's a kid that I knew he was a kid that we would pursue, but I didn't think it was going to be this soon. And so we went from losing our captain last year, who was he wasn't our leading scorer, but he was our most impactful player because of how powerful of a skater he was and how dynamic of a player, and having tier 2 junior A experience. And we lost him. He graduated. He's in the physician's assistant program at Weber State. And so getting that text from Caden was, this player who we lost and didn't think we were going to have a player like him this year, all of a sudden showing up on our doorstep and joining the team and being with us for the opening game of the season. He got into classes, he got into the dorm. All these things just worked out last minute. And Caden has been awesome for us. He's very dynamic offensively. He can change his speed so fast. Crosses defensemen over, it at times makes them look silly. Not so much with the flash of his, I wouldn't say he has any necessarily fancy moves, but he's just so explosive of a skater that he creates offense. There's a buzz about his game every time he's on the ice.
So was last year when you guys made it to nationals, was that the first trip to nationals for you guys at D2?
It was our first trip back to nationals since we went back-to-back years in 2013 and 2014.
Okay.
Which was before I even played at Weber. So I played 5 years for Weber.
Okay.
And then jumped on, and I think this is my 5th or 6th year as a coach.
Oh, wow.
And so it was about 10 years since we had been to nationals.
Yeah. What did the guys and you as a coaching staff take out of that trip last year to kind of get you ready for this year?
I think last year, our biggest thing was if we can get to nationals, if we can get a win at nationals, that is a huge step for us. If we could get a win, like I think everybody, in your first year, you hope to just get there.
Yeah.
Get there and not be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you can get there and get a win in your first year, it teaches your core group of players how to win big games. Right? You get a feel for that moment. We graduated three players last year. And so the core group of we did lose a couple of like I said, our captain, who was probably our best player. We lost him, but the core of our team was coming back. The core of our team was freshman and sophomore players last year. And so we knew we had our core for probably 2 to 3 more years. And if we could get a win at nationals, that would do so much for us moving into this season. And so, that's been, that was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember right from being down there, is you guys just, I mean, it happens in hockey. I don't care who you play. If you run into a hot goaltender, it's going to make it tough. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, Michigan State's goaltender stood on his head. You guys played well. And then, you won in your final game, which, like you said, that's, you want to do that, and you were able to do that, in your final game against Northeastern, who is a perennial power in Division II. So that had to feel pretty good for you on the final day.
Yeah, it was awesome. So our first game of the tournament was against Indiana, who ended up winning.
Yeah.
And we felt like that was a very winnable game for us. I think we ended up losing by 2. One of them was an empty net.
Yeah.
And then same thing, the Michigan State game, that was a game that we really felt like we could have won. And then going into that Northeastern game, like you said, it was a close game. We ended up winning that one in overtime. And the neat part of that whole thing is, had we not won that game, Indiana doesn't move on.
Yeah.
And Indiana doesn't win a national championship.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right. That was the buzz that day. That's incredible.
Yeah, and they were super excited. So our guys, we obviously stayed and we went and continued to watch throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
And as Indiana was celebrating, they're on the ice pointing, giving the heart sign to our guys up in the stands because, had we lost that game, Northeastern goes.
Yeah.
And so we kind of broke Northeastern's heart. It gave an opportunity for Indiana to move on. And it was a really fun experience and a great learning experience for our guys to be there and take that all in.
Jonathan Cosman's joining us here on the ACHA Power Play, assistant coach for Weber State, as they look to get back to the national tournament coming up. The road to St. Louis, by the way, as we keep mentioning, this is the sprint part now. 5.5 weeks until puck drop down there for all 5 divisions. Well, it starts with the D1, but all 5 divisions will be down there March 13th through the 25th. It's a great spectacle at the Centene Ice Center. Before that, Jonathan, you guys have a big tournament coming up this weekend. You've got your conference tournament, and I'm looking at the records of some of these teams that you're going to be playing against. Not just you guys are doing quite well, but I look at Montana State 33-2, Utah, who you just were able to play this past weekend. They've got 21 wins. Providence has got 21 wins. This is going to be a showcase tournament. It's going to be, again, fun for someone like me to watch, but it's going to be a very, very competitive weekend for you.
Yeah, our conference is we have our coaches chat, and I call it a gauntlet. Yeah. Trying to get through our conference playoff. I think outside of I could be wrong, but Boise State might be outside of the ranking or the regional ranking right now, but that's a good team. They've won some big games. They beat Utah State, who I think is 6. last weekend or the weekend before. Like there's no easy games. And so we're preparing this week for Boise State. We're not looking past anything but that Boise State game. And, from there, it's just, you just keep playing the same style. We keep playing to our identity. We feel like the best games that we play of the year are our games against Montana State. Okay. Montana State for the past few years has been they're the bar. They set the bar in the West. And we feel like when we play them the way they want to play everybody else. They're hard, they're fast, they're heavy. And every game we've played them this year was a winnable game. In fact, I think the last game that we played them was up in Bozeman, and we took the lead with, I think, 1 minute and 30 seconds left. And then they ended up scoring 2 more in regulation. And they're such a well-coached team. They're so prepared for the moment that as soon as you think you have them, you don't. And, our thing this weekend is just to play to that identity. Yeah. Expect and prepare for playing Montana State in the finals. And if you can play that game that way all weekend, that we feel confident that we can get to that game and expect that game to be against them on Saturday night.
Oh boy. I'm going to definitely keep an eye on that tournament all weekend. That's going to be fun to keep up with. Like you said, you guys have a gauntlet of a conference. There are some really, really good teams. Jonathan, another thing that fascinates me that I don't think a lot of the listeners or viewers really can appreciate is with the teams out West, you have to travel a lot more than some of the teams out East, like in the Northeast corridor, Northeast region, the Midwest, Southeast, or whatever. Speak, if you will, some of those challenges that, a team like Weber State has, where it's not just jumping the bus for a 45-minute ride. Sometimes you got to go for hours on end before you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have, like we mentioned early on, we've got our 4 Utah teams. And those games are, I would say, all of them are within an hour. Utah Valley might be about an hour and a half to get to. Utah State's about an hour from us. And then Utah is probably about 45 minutes. But then outside of that, fortunately we can get teams to come to us quite a bit with the 4 teams around us. We can get a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday with those 3 teams. But then, you expect at least one Montana trip every year. And a Montana trip is about, it's probably 8 hours to Great Falls. And then you kind of do a triangle. You go up to Great Falls, you go down across southwest to Missoula, and then you go east to Bozeman. And then I think it's about a 6 or 6.5 hour drive home from Bozeman. And they're not close to each other, right? So it's 2, you get to one place, you stay the night after the game, you drive 2 hours, you get to the next one, you stay the night, you drive 2 hours again. And so those are long trips. Yeah. We go to Colorado every year. To get to Denver is about 8 hours from us. And then the last 2 years we've gone to St. Louis. We've flown to St. Louis to play Lindenwood and do that showcase, get a couple teams from the Central, which really boosts our strength of schedule. And it also really prepares us for nationals because we're seeing the teams that we might see at nationals and also playing at Centene. And you're preparing for that feel of nationals because you're playing in that rink that you would be playing at nationals. So those were our 3 big trips this year. I think regionals are in Colorado. Yeah. As you mentioned, the Mountain West this year is in Montana. And so, yeah, definitely quite a bit of travel with playing in the West. But what I will also say, and this is kind of a little bit of a plug for, attending a school or playing for an ACHA team out West, it's pretty fun because if you live out east, how often do you get to travel to Montana?
Right.
How often do you get to go to Colorado and Utah? The sites are pretty cool.
It's beautiful.
The mountains are beautiful.
Yeah.
It's, I'm from Eastern Canada, right? I grew up on the East Coast. I spent a lot of my summers going up into Maine and New Hampshire and, those New England states. And so being able to spend the last 10 or 12 years in Utah and going to Montana, at one point we made a trip to California. At one point we went to Texas. Those are places I may not have gone otherwise. And, it provides a neat opportunity.
Who was your NHL team growing up as a young hockey player and a young hockey fan?
My NHL team growing up might surprise some people. It wasn't Boston, Montreal, or Toronto, which you would expect. My team was Calgary because so I was born in 93. So from 93 to 2003, we had the St. John Flames in St. John, New Brunswick, which was Calgary's AHL team. Mm-hmm. And so I got to know, the players that I cheered for as a little kid was like Martin St. Louis and Jean-Sebastien Giguère were the guys that were playing for the St. John Flames. I don't know how much you follow Major Junior, but Landon DuPont got exceptional status in the WHL. So his dad, Mickey DuPont, was the captain of the St. John Flames when I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old. And so I was able, I'm actually part-time in Utah. So my role with the team, I'm doing some on the bench when I'm home and some video when I'm away, because my wife's in vet school and we're in Pullman, Washington. And 2 weeks ago, I took my little guy up to Spokane. We watched Landon DuPont play, and then we also watched Gavin McKenna play. And so that was pretty neat. My dad took me to watch Mickey DuPont when I was a kid, and I was able to take my little guy, my 4-year-old Danik, to watch his son as an exceptional status player in the WHL.
Well, that's exciting. It's always good to hear stories like that. That's very, very interesting. So finally, back to the team, you got your big weekend this weekend, and then you've got one more weekend before you find out where the final standings are as far as the regional goes. What, if anything, do you think the boys have to work on just to keep it going, just to maybe get that, get back to the top two? If there's anything they might have to work on.
So the big thing, and I think the real big thing this weekend was rediscovering our identity after we lost those players. And now I think it's just remembering that, sticking to it, continuing to work on those habits in practice. As we gear up this week, it's going to be, we'll practice tomorrow morning. We'll practice Wednesday morning, grab a bite to eat, get on the bus at 11:30 and head up to Montana. So 2 hard practices, heavy physical practices. We play our home games in an Olympic sized arena because the Olympics were in Salt Lake in 2002. So all the main rinks in Utah are all Olympic, but we have a practice rink in Ogden that's NHL size. So we'll switch over to the NHL rink, prepare for the smaller ice. For us, what's the smaller ice? And just continue to play that fast, hard, physical game. And just continue to hammer those habits, those good habits, a very, very simple hockey game, and hope the bounces go our way this weekend.
Well, Jonathan, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking time out to be with us. I know you're a very busy man. Good luck this weekend, and good Lord willing, knock on wood. Hope I can see you down in St. Louis in about 5 weeks, and you see me down there, please stop by and say hi.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate you having me.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them. Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
And again, a reminder that our sponsor here of the ACHA Power Play of the tickets at 12ouncesports.com. We're a ticket broker, by the way, and we don't charge some of those fees you see on some of those other secondary market sites. Just go to our website, 12ouncesports.com, hit the ticket tab, use the promo code 12ounce, get an extra 5% off as well. We got great seats for all the NHL games, NBA if that's your flavor, Major League Baseball, pitchers and catchers. Can you believe this? They're going to report starting a week from Friday. Spring training games we'll have for you, regular season games, you name it. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets here, as always, on 12 Ounce Sports. Thanks again to Jonathan Cosman from Weber State, taking time out to be with us. It was great catching up with him. As he said, and as we mentioned during the interview, big weekend for them coming up with the Mountain West tournament. And they're neck and neck with Utah for that second spot in the Western Regional. Is the top two teams in each of the region in Division II. They get the automatic berth to go to St. Louis with their tournament starting on March 14th. The rest of them, February 20th through the 22nd for the Western Regional, 21st through the 23rd. It's regional tournament qualifying time for the extra two spots to go to pool play. 3 through 14, single elimination. 3 through 6 get a bye the first day. And then it's 2 days after that. Winner go home. It's sudden death. I was able to broadcast some of the games on Flow Hockey last year in the Central Regional over in Grand Rapids. And we saw some overtime thrillers, a double overtime thriller for Michigan State winning. Yeah, and they rode the wave 3 days to get to the national tournament. So it's that simple. And it's great hockey. There's nothing for a fan better in hockey than sudden death hockey, like a Game 7 type atmosphere. And that's what the regional qualifying tournament is in Division II. So, yeah, check that out. Coming up February 20th, that weekend, the 20th through the 22nd in Division II, the 21st through the 23rd. All right, we've got about 15 minutes or so left of the program here tonight. So let's get to some of the rankings. This is what we do every week. We'll give you a quick rundown with men's Division I. Minot State on top. Nevada, Las Vegas. They've clinched their division or their conference, by the way. UNLV, the Skating Rebs, they're going to the national tournament as if there was a doubt. So there are now 7 automatic berths left in Division I. So we'll keep an eye on that. Ohio is at number 3. Liberty is at number 4. And lo and behold, they're going to play each other this weekend. Liberty is gone through the gauntlet. We're going to try to effort Kirk Handy to come on to talk and see, how his blood pressure is with some of these games. They got swept at home by Calvin 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or 3 weeks ago. Then they played Niagara. Last weekend, they swept Adrian at home, and now they get to play Ohio. So no rest for the weary there. Number 5 is Jamestown, 6 Adrian, 7 Drury. We had them on earlier in the year. What a story they are. First-year program. Boom, number 7 in the country. They're looking to potentially get one of those top 8 seeds and get an automatic bye out of the first round. That'd be insane. Wouldn't that be great? For them, it would be anyways. Niagara is at number 8. Calvin is at 9. Maryville at 10. Utah is at 11. Indiana Tech at 12. Grand Canyon at 13. U of Mary at 14. Purdue Northwest at 15. Oswego at 16. Pitt at 17. Oklahoma at 18. Arizona's up to 19. Arizona State down to 20. And you got Midland at 21. Grand Valley at 22. And then Stony Brook at 23 and Colorado at 24 with John Carroll at 25. And so we mentioned 8 automatic berths. One of them to keep an eye on will be out of the Great Lakes Collegiate Hockey League. Midland for a while, Northwood out of Midland, Michigan, was ranked in the top 24. they're going to be the odds-on favorite to get one of those automatic berths to get into the national tournament. So, in essence, what you want to do really to be safe, because some of these top 20 teams are going to get the auto bids. If you want to get into the tournament, you want to get somewhere in that 18 to 19 range to probably feel safe to get into the national tournament. All right, we already went through the D2 rankings in the national tournament, so or in the D2 rankings for the regionals. So let's get to Division 3. And we're going to start right off with the number one team in the land. That's Hope College. And by the way, this past weekend on Friday, head coach Chris Van Timmeren got his 600th career victory. And I got to tell you, the powerhouse that has been Hope College all these years in D3, next year, they're going to be in D1. And so they finally made the jump. But Chris has built himself a legacy at Hope. The program has been, class on the ice, off the ice. Went back-to-back with national championships earlier in the decade. They won their first one in 2018 numerous times in the national tournament, making the semifinals. So Chris Van Timmeren, congratulations to him, getting his 600th career coaching victory. Quite the legacy he's built over there in Holland, Michigan at Hope College. Number 2, the Air Force Academy. We talked to Tim Harchie last week here on the Power Play and talked about their success so far this year. They haven't lost yet in the regular season. You want to catch that interview, by the way, go to our YouTube channel, 12 Ounce Sports, and you can see, you can watch that interview that we had take place this past weekend or this past week. So kind of a caveat is they're at number 2. Lawrence Tech, the defending national champions, they're up to number 3 this week. Flip-flop with Oakland, who's at number 4. Notre Dame at number 5, holding still there. Grand Valley at 6. Then you got Colby College up to number 7. They made a 4-spot jump. Calvin down to 8. UMass at 9. Michigan State at 10. Michigan at 11. Colorado School of the Mines are at 12. Central Maine Community College at 13. Sacred Heart at 14. Arizona State at 15. And Purdue right now holding on to that last spot at 16 with Maryville closing in on their heels. All right, let's go to the women's rankings. At the top, no surprise, Liberty, number 1. Adrian College, number 2. They're on a collision course, by the way, to meet next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend. So the Clash of the Titans there. Adrian, the defending national champions with their win last year in the finals over Minot. At number 3, Maryville University, accustomed to being there as well every year. Midland at 4, they're up 1. McKendree is at 5. Minot State down to number 6. Indiana Tech holding strong at 7. Niagara at 8. University of Michigan Dearborn, they're up to number 9. Michigan is at 10. Now this year, like we mentioned, 12 teams. They decided earlier this year to bump it up to 12. So Lindenwood and Jamestown, they're at 11 and 12 respectively. They would get the final spots. Now there are some auto bids that are going to be awarded. So again, you want to make sure you're probably in the top 9, 8 or 9 to get a berth, just in case. As Miami is at 13. Arizona State, the darlings of the national tournament last year as well. They're at 14, and Michigan State is at 15. And finally, in Division 2, we'll give you the top 2 or 3 in each region of the 4 regions. Eastern Michigan University at number 1. Their next ranking is going to come out next week, by the way. So they're still at number 1. Sioux College at 2. Ohio State at 3. Central Michigan at 4. Northern at 5. In the Northeastern division, it's Northeast at number 1, followed by Boston College at 2. Boston University at 3. Then you've got St. Anselm at 4 and Vermont at 5. In the Southeast, Liberty, number 1. Again, the hockey factory, that is Liberty. They're at number 1. The Naval Academy at 2. Villanova at 3. Niagara at 4. And you've got Rowan at 5. And finally, out west, St. Thomas, the number 1 team in the West Regional. Assiniboine at 2. You've got Wisconsin at 3. Dakota College, Bottineau at 4, and Iowa State at 5. So there you go with that. 4 teams out of the Central, 4 out of the Northeast, 5 out of the Southeast, 3 out of the West. That comprises the 16-team format that goes into pool play in Division II. And their final rankings, by the way, will come out on March the 2nd. So a lot of jockeying for position in all of these divisions. So it's still early, but you can kind of tell some of the teams that are probably going to make it. And, we mentioned Sioux College, number 2 in their region. They're the 2-time defending national champions. I don't think they're going anywhere. They've got a big weekend set coming up. We're going to go over some of the big games here in a moment. So in all of the divisions, some big matchups. And it's getting crunch time. We talk about it, 37 days to puck drop. And the ACHA National Tournament down at the Centene Ice Center, March the 13th through the 25th. If you're going to be in that area, again, just stop by, check it out. You can get the tournament pass, a one-day pass, so many great games. And it's such a fun atmosphere. I've been doing covering the national tournaments now. So I think it's my 9th year. And it's ever since day one, man, it gets better every year. So I'm just so excited to be able to be a part of it again this year down in St. Louis. So, all right, before that and before the regionals, we've got some big games coming up this weekend in all the divisions. Let's go. Let's take a look right now. We talked about Division II with that the Mountain West tournament with with Weber State taking on Boise on right out of the chute. That's going to be a dandy. Boise State looking to make some noise, trying to get into the regional tournament over there, ranked 14th. So they got a lot to play for, not only with that national tournament, with the conference tournament, but to try to sneak in to the regional tournament as well. Elsewhere in Division II, this is an interesting matchup. You've got Florida Gulf Coast and Northeastern. Florida Gulf Coast is ranked number 1 in the Southeast region, as we mentioned. Northeastern ranked number 4. These teams have met in the national tournament numerous times, and they've met in the semifinals. I think they've met in a championship game before, so they're no foes to each other. Blue Bloods in Division II, if you will. Those 2 teams, that should be an interesting matchup. Lindenwood and Trine are going to get together this weekend in the Central region. This is a big matchup. Trine right now at number 13. They're in, but they're close. And like we said, you want to get as many playoff or points, computer points, if you will. This would be a big weekend to do that against a team. Lindenwood, I know they're disappointed. They made it to the semis last year in Division II, and I think they feel, as all the other teams do that don't win, that they've got some unfinished business left. So they're going to try to strengthen their resume as well. And Connecticut College, they're going to take on UMass Amherst this weekend out of the Northeast. Connecticut College ranked number 1. UMass, we talk about it. A couple of years ago, they won the national championship against Iowa 4-0 in that championship game. They had a pretty good run in Division II. They're just trying to get back in the national championship fold. They're ranked right now at number 11. In Division III, we talked about Air Force, ranked number 2 in the country. They've got a weekend set with Colorado School of the Mines. This is a big weekend for the Mines. They were in the top 10. Right now, they're ranked number 12. They want to keep, pace to get into the national tournament. But they've got a good squad. And Tim Harchey's team, as we mentioned, undefeated this year. They're looking to keep that going to try to get one of the top spots to get a number 1 seed maybe in pool play. Although it doesn't really matter in pool play. I want to go back with that thought in a moment, but the other big game in Division III, number 6 Grand Valley is going to take on Michigan State, ranked number 10 in a Michigan Collegiate Hockey Conference matchup. That's going to be big for Michigan State. They want to kind of keep their standing to get back to the national tournament. It'll be fun to see Don Headley down there in St. Louis. We're going to drag him. Hopefully he can make it down there for the national tournament. That'll be a lot of fun. But Grand Valley will be there at number 6 again. They went to the championship game last year. They defeated Calvin, their city rival, and then made it against Lawrence Tech. So that's a big matchup in Division III. So yeah, some big matchups coming up in Division 3 and Division 2, as we mentioned. So a lot of fun with that coming up. In Division 1, we've got a plethora of games going between ranked teams coming up this weekend. We talked about it. Liberty and Ohio going to do battle this weekend. Number 3, Ohio. Number 4, Liberty. Grand Valley and Calvin. Calvin ranked number 9 right now, trying to get back into the top 8 to get that number 1 seed. Or not, I'm sorry, an opening round bye. Grand Valley at number 22. They're in the GL6. This is a conference matchup. Grand Valley trying to solidify their spot. It's shaky right now. So these would be a couple of big games for them. A home and home with Grand Valley starting at Calvin on Friday night. I'm going to be doing the play-by-play for that one. A little shameless plug. Join us on the Calvin University YouTube page, by the way. Number 18, Oklahoma against Colorado. They're number 24. Number 1, Minot. They're going to take on Maryville, who's ranked 10th. Again, that conference that they're in with Mary, and I mean, that's loaded, just absolutely loaded. Thursday night, Grand Canyon at 13 is going to take on 20th ranked Arizona State. And then Stony Brook out east, ranked 23rd. They're another team on the bubble. They're going to take on number 8, Niagara. Niagara having another wonderful year, trying to solidify their spot, try to hang on to one of those top 8 spots. We talked about Mary at 14. They're going to take on number 21, Midland, this weekend as well. Finally, in women's D1, number 8, Niagara going to take on number 10, Michigan, and number 15, Michigan State against number 2, Adrian, and Miami going to take on U of M Dearborn. Dearborn at 9, Miami at 13. So some big matchups in D1. And in D2 on the women's side, we've got three big matchups. In the West region, number 2 Assiniboine against number 4, Dakota College of Bottineau. That's a big matchup. Bottineau looking to try to get into the tournament, so they're right on the edge. But this would be huge for them this weekend. Assiniboine, they've been to the championship game 3 straight years. They were defending national champions 2 times. And then they lost to the Sioux a couple of times. Actually, this 4 straight years for Assiniboine. They're looking to get back to the top of the mountain. In the Central Regional, a couple of big matchups. Sioux College, the 2-time defending national champions, they're going down to Mount Pleasant, Michigan to take on Central. They're ranked 4th. Huge matchup right there for both teams. Big for Central and also for Sioux College. And finally, number 3, Ohio State against number 5, Michigan State. That's going to be a monster matchup as well this weekend at Munn. So some great, great games coming up this weekend. Like I said, it's crunch time, right? And so we've got 37 days before puck drop. So all these games, they're magnified with their importance, here as we get close to the national tournament. All right, real quick, we talked about potentially looking at some of the leading scorers right now. Let's give you just kind of the top 3 right now in each of the divisions. In men's Division 1, we're going to take a look at Bryce Garber from Northwood, 51 points. He's tied with Ryan Rodriguez of Delaware. Stephen Ickes from Calvin right behind them with 47. Carter McWilliams, 14 goals, 32 helpers, 46 points. Dylan Tamage from Cleary with 26 goals. Leading the country right now in goal scoring is Bryce Garber from Northwood with 28. In Division 2, the leading goal scorer right now in the country with 34 is Jacob Pearson from North Dakota State. 31 goals for Thomas Castle from Concordia, Wisconsin. He had that 1 goal last year, that amazing move against Minnesota in overtime. I'll never forget that one to get to the national tournament. He's got 31 goals. Dylan Marchand from Merrimack College is at 32 goals as well. And then you've got Mason Romfo at 28. Gavin Peduzzi, he's got 69 points, leading the country in scoring from Virginia Tech. And in men's Division 3, top of the list, Jake Onstadt from Hope College with 60 points. He's got 25 goals. 28 goals is what I see as the leading goal scorer in the country. That's Brendan Deneau from Oakland University. And you've got Purdue's Tyler Groen with 25 goals right behind them, along with Aaron Higgins from Central Maine Community College. On the women's side, leading the goal scorers in Division 1, let's take a look at that. We've got Loki Antonio. She's got 25 goals, 17 helpers, 42 points, leading the country in points and goals. And Callie McGuire from Midland right behind her at 34 points, tied with Hallie Beckett from Maryville and Madison Teague from Lindenwood University with 34 points. And then Tess McCarroll with 32 with 13 goals. And finally, in women's Division II, we've got Veronica Smars, 40 goals, leading the country in goal scoring, all divisions, men and women, 40 goals, 19 helpers for Lake Region State College. Then Sophia Buckberger with 36 goals, 55 points from Lawrence Tech. Eastern Michigan's Sam Sitterly with 23 goals, 50 points. Ellie Schau from Mercyhurst, 34 goals, 15 helpers, 49 points. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. That's the ACHA Power Play for tonight, February the 4th, 2025. Again, we're getting close. 37 days to puck drop. Can't wait. We'll be back next week with another ACHA Power Play, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on 12 Ounce Sports. Again, want to thank Jonathan Cosman for joining us from Weber State University. Good luck to them with their conference tournament this weekend. And, of course, their drive to get back to the national tournament as well. And I want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out to watch us here tonight on your computers, on your television screens, on Roku, or however you're watching us around the world right here on 12 Ounce Sports, our YouTube channel, wherever the social media brings you. We thank you for welcoming us here tonight. All right, we'll see you next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock for another edition of the ACHA Power Play. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week on the ACHA Power Play.